All right, cool. Tuesdays are dedicated to not letting you turn into one of those memes of the Giants' upper body walking around on toothpick legs, because we're definitely plumping the upper body on Monday. So Tuesday, we're doing the same thing for the lower body. You'll have two different options as far as your lifting goes. The first one, strength and power, we're going to apply the cluster format we're using across the whole week to the squats. 3 weeks of front squats, 3 weeks of banded back squats, followed by 1 week of traditional back squats. Your build and tone option is going to be the conjugate 5, 10, 20 method for hypertrophy and strength that we used last cycle on our horizontal pressing and our hinging. How do you decide between the two? It could be argued that the conjugate structure will provide a little bit more muscular development as far as hypertrophy or building muscle, thick thighs, thick butts, but not notable. And then on the other side of the equation, the strength and power, the clusters, is definitely going to have a lot more application to your ability to produce power and strength. So think performance related. That's how you decide between the two. When we look at the strength and power clusters, a couple of things to note on these. The first one being the bands. We're going to use bands on our front squats and we're going to use bands on our back squats. Maybe if you have a limited front rack position and it sits more in the hands with the elbows down, then strapping bands on top of it is just further going to impede your ability to load the legs and be limited by the front rack. Don't let that be a thing. It's not meant to be a wrist exercise. It's meant to be an exercise for your legs. So options would be: one, remove the bands. Don't worry about them if that lets you get into a decent position and actually load the legs through the front squat. The second one would be keep the bands. Don't even worry about the front squat and just do back squats for 2 consecutive waves of this, first 3 weeks and second 3 weeks. It's all about loading the legs to improve power and strength of those. So whatever allows you to do that is an awesome option. The second thing is coaches will recommend a fast eccentric, and it's listed in Wodify. Fast eccentric would be dropping really fast into the hole of the squat. This can be massively beneficial for teaching your muscles the ability to handle heavy, fast eccentric loads and manage weight at speed. What that has giant carryover to is the Olympic lifts. Your success in the Olympic lifts is heavily predicated upon your ability to receive loads at speed, stabilize against them, and then produce force in the opposite direction. So if it's very performance related, your goals, putting that fast eccentric in is a positive. Note though that it may have a slight decrease in development of muscle again, or hypertrophy. So there's a bit of a trade-off there. The second thing would be, if you have any issues with your knees or your low back or your hips, then dropping into the squat super fast could create more opportunity for injury, right? Because it creates greater rotational torque on the joints and increases the internal forces that they have to handle. So if you're still learning to squat and getting competent at squatting, then adding that fast eccentric in is not going to be productive, only if it's something you're really comfortable with and really confident at. On top of that, we want to maintain bar speed on these. So same thing as yesterday. We want it to be heavy, but we want it to be light enough where we can drive the bar very aggressively from the bottom to the top. We're going to keep those rest intervals short as well, closer to 60 seconds, 90 on the high end, to really turn you into an athletic freak. Conjugate 5, 10, 20 method, not a lot to discuss there. We just rocked through that this previous cycle. One other thing I wanted to note is the low ceiling in the low ceiling plyos in the warm-up. Massively important for performance. If we look at Olympic lifting, your ability to absorb loads and deep levels of flexion at the joints is one of the make or break points at being successful at Olympic lifting. This is going to teach that in a non-weighted environment that gets you a lot of touches at that, which helps to improve your mobility and your ability to get into positions fast. So don't skip out on those. Make sure you get as many rounds of that in as you can. When we move into the accessory work, we're just going to be hammering clusters. So one option, everyone's developing thick legs. It's going to be an absolutely sick day, and we're all going to wake up super, super sore on Wednesday, almost as sore as how sweaty I am from sitting in my car shooting this video. Let's get after it, gang. Ask your coaches if you got any questions. Peace.